So I'm going home now, and I feel this pain in my chest and anxiety. I just feel so anxious that like everything is gonna get worse. But I can't think that way. Just gotta stay positive and hope for the best, I guess. So we will see. Time to go see my favorite girl. So I'm starting to feel a little bit emotional, and at first I was feeling emotional and fearful and anxious about all the things that can happen when I leave the hospital, and what if the interpreter thing doesn't work and communication is not there and they make a impulsive, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. I was feeling very fearful and scared, which I validated myself for, because I think that that's normal and it's important to validate those feelings. So I started praying, and sometimes I pray in my head, but then I get distracted and I stop praying and I start thinking about all the other things again. So I started praying out loud, and then I started feeling like crying. But it was interesting because in that moment it wasn't tears of pain or anxiousness or fear, but it was tears of gratitude, because I remember when I was driving to the hospital on Monday, unsure what was going to happen with Zach, if they were going to intubate him, and all the fears that come along with that. There's two people who I know from our church who recently passed away from COVID, and so I had all those fears running through my head with the whole intubation. But anyways, I felt this extreme amount of peace, because as I was driving to the hospital, I was begging God, like, please let it be something else. Like, please, please, please let his lungs be okay. Zach works out like crazy, guys. Every day he works out. He does this insanity workout. He wears his mask. It's a, what is it called? It's like this workout mask that strengthens your lungs. It's like as if like you're working out on a mountain at a different, I'm totally blanking out on the words, but oh my gosh, what is that word called? When you're on the mountain, there's less oxygen. I don't know, I can't remember that word. I'm not going to obsess about it. Anyways, so it makes your lungs a lot stronger. And so his lungs are really strong, so I'm thinking it's got to be something else. So I'm begging God, like, please, please, please let Zach be okay. Also praying for peace and comfort regardless of what happens. But as I'm driving there, my mother-in-law texts me and informs me that the machine was malfunctioning, which is part of the reason that was showing such low oxygen levels. And so they ended up not needing to intubate him. And that like happened like just a few minutes after I really started getting into my prayer. So then right now as I'm driving home and I was feeling anxious and worried, I remembered that moment and just started feeling grateful that God answered that prayer literally like minutes after I asked. But
Hi.